And this article jumped out, this piece written commentary by former Governor Marvin Mandel and former gubernatorial candidate and Maryland State Delegate Ellen Sauerbrey. Within it, they write, 3 unnecessary bills implementing combined reporting, increasing Maryland's minimum wage beyond the federal minimum wage, and reinstating the millionaire's tax. All of those further advance a tax and spend and social engineering orthodoxy that is just anti-business. Joining us now, appreciate her time, is the aforementioned Ellen Sauerbrey. How you doing?
I'm doing good, C4. Good to talk to you.
You as well. Look, the two of you are co-chairs of the Maryland Business for Responsive Government, and you both wrote this in the wake of what you saw, not just from the governor's State of the State address, I'm sure, but from the initiatives I just mentioned, you know, the 3 bills moving forward, that really nothing has been learned over the last 4 years, huh?
Well, first of all, let me point out that a healthy business climate is not a Republican or a Democrat issue, which is why Governor Mandel, a Democrat, and I, a Republican, are working together on MBRG on trying to say to the legislature, look, you know, it's the growth of businesses and a healthy business climate that's needed that creates jobs, that brings income to our citizens, and ultimately that produces the revenue for the state of Maryland. And if we keep putting in legislation, even if it's not going anywhere,
right,
these bills may end up in the trash heap. But just the fact that bad bills, anti-business bills, are continuously introduced.
It's a climate. It's a climate.
It sends a red flag out to the site selection people around the country that are looking at where they're going to locate. And we know we're already not competitive with Virginia on every element of our tax structure. We are so much higher than Virginia, and we keep losing major companies. I mean,
no, Northrop Grumman went there, Ellen, and it's a regional victory. It's
absolutely. And Northrop Grumman got a lot of attention, and especially when the governor was generous enough to say it was a regional victory.
Yes.
But it didn't bring any revenue or jobs in Maryland.
No, it didn't.
And in addition to Northrop Grumman, much less attention was paid to the fact that we lost Hilton worldwide. We lost Volkswagen North America. We lost Computer Sciences Corporation, SAIC, one big company after another that looks at the 2 states and goes to Virginia because it's a much friendlier climate. So these bills, these 3 bills, are just, first of all, they've been, I mean, these ideas have been around before. The millionaire's tax, I mean,
let's talk about combined reporting first before you get to the millionaire's tax, because that was around when I was in the legislature as well. They were talking about that. And the one thing, Ellen Sauerbrey, about that you mentioned that sticks out to me, and you can speak to some of the issues you wrote about, but the National Conference of State Legislatures, you've right here analyzed the economic impact of combined reporting for states last year, and it found that combined reporting harms state economies, particularly those that already have high business taxes. That's us.
That's us. And in addition, our own Maryland Business Tax Reform Commission, which worked for 2 years looking at the Maryland Corporate Tax Code, rejected it. They said it's too complicated for government or businesses to manage it, and you know, they said this is not a good thing. The NCSL, National Conference of State Legislatures, as you said, says it's not a good thing. So why do we have legislation like that introduced? I mean, if legislators don't realize that these bills are read by businesses all around the country,
yep,
and they scare the devil out of businesses that are right here. I mean, we just talked about businesses that have decided not to come here, but what about all the businesses that are closing their doors?
Or the businesses, Ellen Sauerbrey, that aren't going to grow and try to hire more in this climate environment?
That's right. And, you know, sometimes we think things sound like a really good idea, but if we don't understand that if businesses don't make a profit, if they don't have the revenues, they are not going to be able to make the capital investment that creates new jobs. And if we make it too onerous, they're going to have to lay off some of the people that they have.
And also, if we look at down the road with the president freezing wages for federal employees and with stimulus money running out, we have been able as a state, Ellen Sauerbrey, to survive through the recession because of our close proximity to D.C., but also all the federal money we can depend on. According to the analysis, in the next 3 or 4 years, once this money starts drying up, we've got to depend on the private sector now.
That's right, and we also survived, as you know, with baling wire and masking tape by raiding
right.
Transportation Trust Fund. I mean, we have many companies in the state that depend for their revenue and their survival and their jobs on repairing roads and building bridges, and we keep taking the money away. These companies are barely surviving.
Let's get some phone calls. 410-467-WBAL. Toll-free long distance is 1-800-767-WBAL. Verizon, star WBAL. AT&T is pound WBAL. We're speaking with Ellen Sauerbrey. She's one of the co-chairs now, along with former Governor Marvin Mandel, the Maryland Business for Responsive Government. And they co-wrote a piece for the Baltimore Sun, The Anti-Business Agenda in Annapolis. Let's get Max. And Max, you're on with Ellen Sauerbrey and me.
How you doing, Ms. Sauerbrey, and how you doing, C4?
Great.
Just real quickly, you want to know what the worst tax is in this state, and I certainly wouldn't want to die in Maryland, is after you get to $1 million, they take 16% of your money. That's how it starts on the estate tax. Now, the federal tax allows you to get away with $10 million that you can walk away with, $5 million, and it's portable for the husband, and $5 million for the wife. If you die in the state of Maryland, you start paying 16% over $1 million. I mean, that's where it really hits with these wealthy people.
And that's the thing. Well, being wealthy. Go ahead,
Huh?
Max. I was going to say,
if it was me, I'd be moving to Florida or one of these other states that doesn't have an estate tax when I got older, or at least establishing residence down there for more than 6 months at a time, so that if I died, my estate wouldn't go into the coffers of the state of Maryland, but would go to the family members.
We have set up, Ellen, I want you to respond in a second. We have set up this analogy in this state, Max, is anybody who makes over $250,000, and this was even before the president came out with his statement, is somehow evil and needs to be taxed more. Ellen, this class warfare thing we set up in this state, Ellen Sauerbrey.
You know, interestingly, Maryland Business for Responsive Government was founded 20-some years ago by a group of CEOs of major companies. Virtually every one of them is gone now. Either the company has gone or the individual has gone. And where have they gone? They've established residence in Florida for exactly the reason that your caller is suggesting. Max, you're right.
Max?
Yeah, the problem here is if you want to keep people around, you've got to make it you have to incentivize it for them. And if you do that, then they'll stay. This 16% of everything over $1 million, when you can just go across the border to Virginia or any of these other states where they do so much of give you so much more of a break. I mean, we're going to lose all these people.
And Max, financial
we're not
planners,
get the money anyhow.
Financial planners are doing just that. That's their job, is to look out for their clients. Ellen Sauerbrey, I want you to stay with me because I want to talk with you in the next segment, if I can, Ellen, about the raising of the minimum wage and the signal that they're trying to send with that as well when we're talking about hiring folks. Ellen Sauerbrey is with us. Want your phone calls, 410-467-WBAL. We're talking about the business climate in the state, and they're still trying to push bills in that are going to make it business unfriendly. It's time for traffic and weather. Together on the fives, here's Tamara Nelson.
Thank you, C4. And this report is brought to you by BGE Home. We're going to head over to Pasadena, where we head over to Ritchie Highway at Pasadena Road. Crash there has cleared the roadway, and all lanes have reopened. Looks like Anne Arundel County Police have wrapped up their investigation westbound on the Bay Bridge. There's some construction to watch for on the bridge span. Looks like it's in the right lane of traffic, most likely clearing around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Couple of Baltimore County crashes to watch for, hopefully cleared by now. York Road at Seminary and also Cromwell Bridge Road at Loch Raven Boulevard. The WBAL InstaWeather Plus forecast, partly to mostly sunny the remainder of the afternoon, partly cloudy tonight, lows near 40. Right now, partly sunny skies, 66 degrees with traffic and weather together on the fives all day long. I'm Tamara Nelson, WBAL.
Baby, you can drive my car.
Hey everybody, Jamie Lee Curtis here for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. What should you do to stop a friend from driving if they've been drinking? Answer, whatever it takes. Think before you drink. Designate before you celebrate. Choose a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Yeah, drive me home.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Excuse me, do you know how to get to Maine and Maple?
Do you have these in a 7.5?
How's that cooked?
Can I get that shipped overnight?
Is there a direct flight?
How long does the warranty last?
What's your soup of the day?
How do you change the ringtone?
Does it come in blue?
Does this bus stop at Elm Street?
We ask questions everywhere in life.
Is it raining out?
What time's the meeting?
How much does this cost?
Does it have four-wheel drive?
Have we met before?
What's my account balance?
Yet somehow, when we get to the doctor's office... Any questions?
No.
We clam up. Ask questions.
What is this test for?
Are there any side effects?
When do I get my results?
Questions lead to better health care. Go to ahrq.gov for a list of 10 questions everyone should know. Questions are the answer. Public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
My name is Tom Thornton.
And my name is Cindy Thornton. We've been married 38 years. We're retired, and this is how we live united.
We play golf and we travel, but we also decided we were going to give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
I do the nursing at the clinic.
I work the front office, checking in patients, greeting them, making them feel comfortable.
United Way is how we contribute because we know our time and money are going to the right places, the places that need it most and implement it best.
Judging by the thank yous we get at the clinic, I'd say we're doing the right thing with our retirement too.
We even get a few bless yous. It's incredible.
We're Tom and Cindy Thornton. We volunteer at our community free health clinic, so we don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Without high-end pricing.
Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be speaking with J. Doug Gill. He is the Maryland State House reporter for the Examiner. We're going to be talking about his monitoring of the testimony yesterday around illegal immigrants, in-state tuition for children of illegal immigrants and what the blowback on that was. Also, we're going to be talking with United States Senator Ben Cardin in the next hour about what's going on in Washington. Right now, though, we're pleased to have on board Ellen Sauerbrey. Ellen Sauerbrey, former Maryland gubernatorial candidate, Maryland State delegate, ambassador. You got so many things I could throw out there. Ellen Sauerbrey, as well as now co-chair, along with former Governor Marvin Mandel, of the Maryland Business for Responsive Government entity. And I wanted to talk with you about the effort. I had Ryan Dennis, who's the executive director of Progressive Maryland, on the show talking about their effort, they're spearheading it, to raise the minimum wage in this state. And it may not go anywhere. Senate President Mike Miller is not too warm in it. But, as you said, it's just something else that sends a signal.
Well, it not only sends a signal, but, I mean, one of the people that was speaking on behalf of this for one of the groups, I don't remember which one, was quoted as saying that it would inject about $1 billion in spending in the Maryland economy to the workers who get an increase in their wages.
Right.
What she doesn't understand is that this $1 billion that she's talking about has to come out of the pocket of the small businessman who may have 5 employees, and if he has to raise his wages for the 5 employees, he may end up having to lay off one of them.
Or how about this, Ellen Sauerbrey? How about I had small business people call my show the day I had Ryan Dennis from Progressive Maryland on and say, look, if you get this through, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hire any part-time workers. I'm not going to do any of that, and that way I'm avoid minimum wage altogether.
Yes, and this is another thing that many people don't understand is that when you're looking at the minimum wage, you're looking at a very high number of the people who are on minimum wage are part-time. A lot of them are college kids, and a lot of them are our very least skilled workers. And there are a number of different studies that demonstrate that every time the minimum wage is raised, guess what happens? We have higher teenage unemployment,
Yep.
and particularly it is a major hurt for black teenagers.
And once again, we're talking about minimum wage. I want to talk with you before you go, and that is the millionaire's tax. We had a comptroller, Peter Franchot, on the show during the effort to do this during a special session in 2007, and even Democrat comptroller Peter Franchot said this is a bad idea, and it's only been borne out, as you write here, Ellen Sauerbrey, in what we haven't collected in terms of revenue.
Yeah, the numbers are so clear that you wonder why would anybody think about doing this again. The comptroller's office had projected that it would net the state $106 million, and the overall effect at the end of the year was it was a net loss of $257 million. Now, and I believe the number was about 30% of the filers from 1 year after the millionaire tax was put into place. About 30% of the people who had filed income taxes over $1 million.
They were gone.
They were gone.
They were gone.
Now, a lot of people said, oh, well, that was just because of the economy. And no doubt the economy did have something to do with
Sure.
it. But a significant amount of those people, as Max said, well, why should I stay here? I'm going to Florida where I don't have to pay any income tax.
And their financial planners, will go back to this, their financial planners told them that's what you should do, and they listened.
Absolutely. I mean, people aren't stupid. And and another point that should be made about both the millionaire tax and the minimum wage issue that we were talking about before is that the governor really is promoting building a technology, much more technology-oriented economy.
Right. Talking about putting $100 million into this thing.
And tech companies, unlike Bethlehem Steel or the old manufacturing companies, they're not capital intensive. They don't build big manufacturing plants where it's really hard to move. These are companies that are very nimble, and it's just as easy for them to move across the river into Virginia or Delaware and operate and avoid these taxes.
And that's why they had that when they had computer services tax, if you remember, they had a computer services tax out there that they withdrew it because all of a sudden they saw these companies, like you said, are very transient, can move quickly.
So getting back to the kind of the original point of this article is we've got to stop sending these red flags that Maryland is not a good state to do business, because we're ultimately hurting our residents who can't find jobs, our young people who are going to have to leave home and go somewhere else where there's more opportunity, and we're ultimately significantly hurting the state of Maryland, because if people aren't working and they don't have jobs, then guess what? The tax revenues don't come in.
And each month, I mean, we have Comptroller Franchot looking at the lack of revenue we get because of these public policies that are just detrimental to small businesses and everybody else. Ellen Sauerbrey, it's always great to speak with you. We have your piece and Governor Mandel's piece posted on our site, C4 page, WBAL.com. And folks, get in touch with you over the Maryland Business for Responsive Government entity, okay?
Yeah, visit our Facebook page and you'll get a lot more information on all these issues.
It's always great to talk with you. You take care. I'll tell my dad I'll talk to you, okay?
Okay.
Take care. All right.
Good to talk to you.
Thank
Bye.
you. 410-467-WBAL. Toll free long distance is 1-800-